What's going on, bro? Welcome back to my channel. Listen, so we have Tay-K, man, rapper Tay-K. It's a sad situation. I made a video a few days ago. What I'm saying about him going to trial for another murder that he committed, and this trial here it wasn't over yet, and he just got read his verdict. What I'm saying, he was guilty. He wasn't guilty of capital murder, but he was guilty of murder. So he was found guilty of doing what he did. You know what I'm saying? The first case a few years, about 8 years ago, for the first murder. So he was sentenced to 55 years, and in this case right here, man, he was sentenced to 80 years. But let's look at the judge's verdict and go from there, man.
I want you to know that I listened to all of the evidence in punishment. And thought about whether or not your sentence should be stacked. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood. And I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I understand the state of the law, what people consider an adult. I listened to the testimony of the expert that was brought by defense counsel. You've already been sentenced to murder in the other county, and then you have a murder here. And the sentence for 55 years, that's a stiff sentence. This 80-year sentence is a stiff sentence. And these are cases where you have to serve half your time, and that's day for day time, and I recognize that. Hopefully you will grow. But based upon his age, based upon the number of years that he has received out of Tarrant County and the number of years that he's received here, based upon his history and the lack of any type of good parenting, from what I can tell, his mother wasn't a good parent to him. His father wasn't a good parent to him. Child Protective Services was not good. And if you believe the testimony, I don't know why Child Protective Services would place children back with a father who put the children's mother in the hospital. Is there something else that needs to be done with our society? Yes. Is more money needed for Child Protective Services and their workers? Yes. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, any time that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased. And that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison. They join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself. You're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D.
Wow. Like I said, man, and you can tell in his, I guess, kind of reaction. Well, he don't really have a reaction, but like his face expression hasn't really changed throughout the whole trial, And I don't know. Maybe he just numb to it, or maybe he just realized, you know what, I'm never getting out. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't need no facial reaction. I don't need to really react to anything, have no emotion because I'm never getting out. You know what I'm saying? And what the judge said, man, was really kind of spot on. That his childhood. And a person like me, man, I don't, I know some people that can really have a bad childhood, you know what I'm saying? And like she said, the system that he was in, they brought him back to his father. And I didn't notice that his father kind of put his mother in the hospital. So his father was abusive. You know what I'm saying? I never knew that all these years or whatever, that his father was a bad person, and like she said, his mother and father not in his life, but he had, then I'm thinking like, okay, did he had any kind of aunts, uncles, you know what I'm saying, that he probably could have stayed at or whatever, and I don't know if it's just me, man, but like my childhood wasn't perfect, but my childhood wasn't bad also. You know what I'm saying? It was normal, person like me, man, my mom and dad kind of separated. Then I got a stepfather. My younger brother's father came in my life when I was about, my mom and dad never really, what I'm saying, separated when I was like real young, maybe like 3. Then till like I was like 10, then my stepfather came in my life, and he left, not really left, but him and my mom kind of separated when I was about 28. So with that time frame of 10 to like 28 or whatever, I learned a lot. He wasn't my real dad, but he was basically my dad. You know what I'm saying? That I learned a lot from him. You know what I'm saying? And in the beginning, it was kind of rough because a dude that's not my father coming into my life, I didn't really respect him. Not disrespect him, but I just didn't respect him as a father. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is every childhood is different, but in this case right here, it's like at the time he was like 16, 17, and at that age, 16, 17, from a baby to 16, 17, he got a gun in his hand. He was a rapper at the time. So I'm thinking like, okay, yes, you got a bad childhood, man, but it's like, right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? If I got a gun in my hand, if I pull this trigger, this person gonna die. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. I know he done seen movies that people get killed in movies, but it's not real. But I'm saying you see what can happen that somebody can die or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he knew right from wrong is all I'm saying. Like, come on, 16, 17-year old, you didn't really have a good childhood. Yeah, I get that. You know what I'm saying? I get that. I'm not blaming him on that, man. But I'm like, he gotta know right from wrong, man. Like, there's no way that you could live in society and you don't think like, okay, if I go steal from the store, I might get caught and I might get in trouble. You know, like, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm just like, come on, man. You're 16, 17. You got a gun in your hand. You making rap videos and stuff like that. You killed 2 people. So, of course, you're going to go to jail. And like the judge said, man, she really speaks some facts in the situation. It's like, listen, you didn't have a good childhood. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, you have to understand that you killed 2 people. You know what I mean? Like even the first one. And after the first one, that the first person that he killed, he went on the run and he made that famous video, Race. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, he know what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, dude. Like it's sad, but then again, it's like, can you really be sorry for this guy? You kill somebody the first time, and you kill somebody again over a video camera or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then you got your girlfriend on the stand testifying against you. Like the whole situation is crazy, man. But it's like, I hope families, not like families, like I hope people that who watch this case, man, can really explain to the kids, like, you don't have to be a gangster, you don't even have to be a rapper, be whatever you want to be, but understand that as you get older, life will get hard. So as they explain to the kids, man, that be whatever you want to be in life, man, but just be respectful and go hard at. You know, that's my thing, man. Just go hard in life and do what you can to better yourself, better your kids and learn from mistakes. And 55 plus 80 years, man, about 100 something years. But there's a news clip right here saying, kind of explaining that, he's not really going to do that. He can do that, but it's like he can be up for parole in like 40 years. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lady right here kind of explaining that.
McIntyre. He hasn't had any reaction much for this entire trial, but I think you could see almost a sigh of relief from Mark Saldivar's family that this was finally over after almost 8 years while waiting for justice, that this is a chapter they can finally close. And you could kind of just see that relief, and especially in his mother.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's talk about Judge Boyd. Decided to have this 80 years run concurrently with the 55 years that McIntyre is already serving from Tarrant County. So, what does that mean of running like that?
Yeah, so if she would have stacked it, that means he would have had to serve that 55-year first, whenever he would be eligible for parole over that, if he was granted parole. Then he would automatically start serving that next sentence, which is the 80 years. But because she's running it concurrently, that means they run together. So now he's not eligible for parole, at least after serving 40 years in total. So he's still going to spend a lot of time behind bars, and that doesn't even mean that the parole board would consider. They just have to consider it. That doesn't mean they have to grant parole that first or second time. So it will be a long time before he...
And had he been convicted of capital murder, then this wouldn't even be a discussion.
In a way. So when because he was 16 when he committed that crime, it would have still been eligible for parole after 40 years.
I see.
So it's kind of like the same sentence going in.
I see.
Because he was 16 when these crimes were committed.
Yeah, so this case is wild, man. But y'all tell me what y'all think about the whole situation. Y'all think he really deserved this time, or y'all think, you know what, he was young at the time, he didn't know no better? Tell me in the comments, man. Don't forget to like and subscribe.